Hey, welcome to Keys with the House Lady. I'm your host, Estrella Carter, Minnesota realtor and stager. And on this podcast, we love to talk about real estate, community, lifestyle, and everything that helps you live your best life. Before we get started, I just want to remind you, no matter where you are, Minnesota, another state, or across the world, I can connect you with a trusted real estate professional through my national and international network. Learn more at estrellacarter.com or call me at 651-338-4207. Let's get into today's conversation. I have a very special guest, Tammy Wagner with Movement Mortgage. We have worked together helping buyers get to home ownership. And today we're going to talk about down payment assistance with Tammy. And then she's also going to share her tips in Movement Mortgage's internal down payment assistance program. So, welcome, Tammy.
Hi, Estrella. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for getting here, too, after we had a snowstorm all night, and you traveled here across the bridge here, so...
Not too far,
I know, not too far, but still. So. Yes, so Minnesota, I think we are one of the greatest states to help first-time home buyers or just home buyers that need a little help with down payment assistance program. Most of my first-time home buyers have received down payment assistance, and it's just such a great pathway to make home ownership attainable. So today, I'd like for you to, share, your stories and also your expertise on this program for people that are listening for their friends or family that are wanting to be homeowners or just potential homeowners. So let's get started a little bit with you introducing yourself. What's your title? How long have you been in this business? And we'll just go from there.
Great. Thank you. I have been in the financial services, mortgage lending for over 35 years now.
So you're seasoned.
Yeah, I just love helping people. I love seeing their eyes light up. I love guiding them. I don't want to make it hard on them as much as I have, is needed. So that's just really important to me. It's kind of a concierge, type mortgage situation for me. I do a lot of first-time home buyers. I do the down payment assistance programs. There is some programs that where you don't have to be just a first-time home buyer. So I've had people that have sold homes and not had a lot of funds out of there, but then sometimes it works out where having that with the funds that you have can also help make that new home affordable. So
are you saying if someone they're a seller and they sell their home and they were to purchase another home, they will get down there. They may be eligible for down payment assistance.
For sure. In Minnesota, I know that. I'm sure more states may have it as well, but I know in Minnesota, you can still use the down payment assistance if you're selling and buying another house.
And I'm telling you, I don't think a lot of people know that because I've had people ask me, they're like, I'm not eligible because I owned a home, or either they owned a home 3-5 years ago, and I'm like, no, you're eligible for the first time home buyers.
Yeah, Well, there's a couple different programs.
Okay.
So in Minnesota, we have an income limit. So you have the first time home buyers, and then you have there's another. If you're over that income limit, there's still another program. And then if you've got funds from a sale of a house, or you have owned, or maybe you got divorced a year ago, and you're not considered a first time home buyer, which that definition is if you have not owned a home for 3 years. So just know you can always become a first-time home buyer again if you haven't owned for 3 years. But if you are in that situation that you have owned, there is a program to help you with that.
Yes. So we're going to repeat that again because I've had to reiterate this. If you haven't owned a home in at least 3 years, you are considered a first-time home buyer.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, go ahead, Tammy.
I know that, buying a home is so exciting. Let's be real. It can be very stressful. And what people have to remember is you're not alone. That's why Estrella's there to coach you on the real estate side, the home, picking that home out. That's why I'm there to help you with the financing. And then there's also, you have the backroom people, the underwriters, the processors, you've got appraisers. Then you get to choose your insurance company, whether it's a family favorite or you want to shop around. But that's one choice you get there to choose, and you get to choose everybody, I guess. Let's see. So I tell people, they say that it takes a village to raise a child. I totally agree with that. But I also think it takes a village to buy a home.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you got to be comfortable with the person that you're with, get that relationship, that comfort level going. Never be afraid to ask questions because, your mortgage lender, your realtor, your insurance person, we're not going to be making your mortgage payment for you as much as we'd like to. So you're the one that's investing in it. You always have the right to ask questions and not to feel like that it's a bother to someone else.
Yes. And you have the right. I tell my clients all the time, shop around, because again, this is your investment. But I like how you mentioned it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a team here because we are a team, and that's how I met you. Is we shared a client who also had down payment assistance. But I just love, and I don't know if it's the social worker in me because I was a social worker for 15 years, but I love how we form these meaningful relationships and we have resources. And I think that's really important instead of just leaving a client hanging. We offer them resources, and I like that about you as well, Tammy, is that you really sit down with them. It's not like you say, oh, fill out an application and then denied. No, you actually sit down with them. So let's talk more about your background and role, with your mortgage lending experience and types of buyers you work with. And then with that, how DPA is critical in today's market.
Okay. I have done, the down payment assistance loans is something close to my heart because I feel like there is a lot of people out there that are affording rents that are mortgage levels. They just don't have those funds for the down payment and the closing costs. Mm-hmm. And even if people do have funds, sometimes adding those funds to what you have can make a more affordable payment. And then I also liked that our clients, home buyers have a little savings that maybe they're not spending every penny that they have to get into a home, but they've got something, who would have guessed a pandemic was going to happen, right? Like they've got that, or if the furnace goes or the water heater, the fridge, the furnace, the washer, all those things.
All those hidden, almost like hidden expenses, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, in an event of, a disability or an accident, you just never know. So I'm a firm believer in trying to save what you can to prevent, any financial tragedies down the road. Did I cover?
Yes, I believe so. And then just types, types of buyers that you work with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, almost every kind. I feel like sometimes there's too many products and services out there. So like I said, the down payment assistance is one. I have done...
Do you work with veterans?
Oh, yes. I love veterans. My dad is an Army veteran, so that's near and dear to my heart. So I love working with veterans.
Well, let's give them an applause.
I actually just in October closed a loan. This young man was actually serving in Iraq, and he had his parents help him when he was out of the country. They were power of attorneys for him, and they did the signing. He wanted to make sure when he came back to Minnesota that he could move into his new home. So that was it was a huge time difference. We usually met in the morning because in the afternoon it was time for bed. So it was fun. But yes, love veterans.
But overall, you work with a diverse population.
Oh, very diverse. Yes. I've done investment loans where don't need an income, where if the going rent matches your payment, you can buy that property. What's another one? Bank statement loans. So, I also deal with a lot of self-employed people, and money's coming in, but maybe on taxes, it's not looking as though you can afford a home. Mm-hmm. We can use those bank statements. There's a 1 year and a 2 year program. And if we can show that the money is actually coming in, I've been very successful with that too. So the down payment assistance, that will be your traditional conventional loan. You can also use it for VA. rural development, and then FHA. So your standard government loans, we can use those down payment assistance loans for.
Okay. You mentioned rural development. Can you tell us more a little bit about that?
Rural development loans are meant for those homes outside of the greater suburbs of the city. I honestly, I haven't done a lot of them.
Is that a USDA?
Yep, exactly. That's what it is, USDA. So there is a map that you can go to it's USDA eligibility. You put in the address of the home and it'll let you know if you qualify. So it's always good to compare that with traditional programs.
Right. The reason why I ask is because I'm getting more people that are wanting to kind of get into
Move out.
rural. Yeah.
So, yes. Get a little land.
So let's talk more about how just dive deep into this DPA, like how it works. I know there's different DPA programs, but what are like the basic qualifications when it comes to credit, income, household, and what's the qualifications and the benefits and limitations?
Great question. You know what? There's no way to easy answer to say that. Each one is different in its own way. So it's really kind of like putting a puzzle together. You qualify for a regular mortgage, then you add the different programs into there. A lot of them do have income limits. Some of them are 150% of the area median income. A lot of them are 80% of the area median income. You could get more money if you're in the 60% area median income. So everyone's a little different. I've even seen some that if you live in the city and you buy in the city, you may get a larger down payment assistance. Or if you work in the city, or your children maybe go to a school in that city and you buy in the city. So it really, really varies. There can be city down payment assistance programs. There can be county. State usually does have some kind of program. There's organizations, there's nonprofits, there's projects. Somebody might build a certain neighborhood and offer certain financing. In Movement, we do have our Boost program that'll cover the whole country. That does not have an income limit. It does offer a 3.5% down payment assistance as well as a 5%. And people say, well, if I'm a first-time home buyer and I only need 3 or 3.5% down, why do I want the 5% down? That's because maybe you'll use those funds to for the closing costs, your first year's homeowner's insurance, those kinds of things. If your seller doesn't pay those. So they really vary. Just put that puzzle together, keep adding the pieces. And I know we've talked about it, Australia, before, that you can actually stack these programs too.
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah. So you could do, what I find, and I don't think I've found it to be different, is that you are unable to use the same source of funds. Like whoever is offering those funds, you can't use the same provider. So maybe you couldn't use, if there's 2 City of Minneapolis programs, a neighborhood and a city, those unlikely you probably won't be able to use together. But if it's a Hennepin County and a state of Minnesota, that's very normal for us to be able to stack those to add to it. I think the most I've done, I have heard of somebody doing 5 before.
Yes, so
but 3 is the most that I have done, and I want to say that was about $42,000. But think about what an impact that does make on your payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the audience what it looks like working with you? So if someone calls you, or tell us your style. What are the early conversations that you have, and and then also how do you decide when someone's not just DPA ready, but even homeownership ready?
Good question. I look and I study what I'm seeing online for recommendations. And it's always usually, get pre-approved. So, I really like to have a conversation with people, and I leave it up to them on their availability and what's convenient. If they want to meet in person, totally fine with that. If they just want to have a phone conversation, I really like the phone conversation. I can just send you a link to apply, but I like to talk through that, and I'd like you to get to know me and me to understand your situation. It just helps throughout the loan process. So I really do recommend at least talking first, giving you some direction, and then, sending in another email, then, through that first conversation, maybe I find out that you are self-employed and will need the tax returns. Maybe I find out that, trying to think here what it could be. Maybe you are on a repayment plan for the IRS. That's perfectly fine. We may need that letter, things like that. What would be another one? Maybe you get, salary and commission. I may ask for not the traditional pay stubs. I would ask for those, but I would also ask maybe for your year end. So having that conversation, I think, really helps me to help you the fastest, for one, and to give you the best information. I really want to make sure when you start looking for a house, you're not wasting your time or the seller's time or the agent's time. It's not, everybody wants a happy ending. So the smoother that we can set that up, the better.
Yes. And that is important to me as a realtor. I make it a priority in a best practice to refer my clients to people that professionals that can form meaningful relationships. I don't want to refer my client to a lender where they'll say to them, and they don't even meet them face to face, or they'll just say, oh, fill out this application, and then they get an email, oh, denied. I want for someone to really get to know them and help them feel comfortable through this investment, because this is going to be the biggest investment of their life.
Yeah. You think about it. If, you're dreaming of a $500,000 house, you do the application and you're denied, or you see this payment is $5,000 a month. And you're like, well, that's way out of my league. I guess I can't buy a house. If I'm talking to you, I can say, what is your comfort level? And then I could do both. I could provide you the $500,000, but I also know that Mr. and Mrs. Jones want a $3,000 payment. And I said, this is what you would get. Now, it may not sway you, but it may make you think about what you're going to look for. So you are looking at realistically the right price houses and within your comfort range.
Yes, that's very important. So tell me more about how you prepare your buyers through strategy and education.
Strategy and education. Even when you do the down payment assistance program, a lot of them do require home buying education. Yes. Each program might have a little bit different accreditation. It does have to be accredited one, so it can't be just something you go up to your corner library. You have to make sure it's accredited, and the program that you're using, that accreditation works for them, so they may have different ones. But a lot of times I'll just request that. I'll provide that information just for their knowledge. Even if they're not going to use the program, I say, this is a good thing to do. I have never had anybody regret taking the home buyer education. I've done these loans for people in finance, bank managers, and every single time, everybody said it was not a waste of their time. So whether or not you need the accreditation, I usually like to ask them if they would like to go through that and send them a link. There's lots of free ones, accredited free ones that you could go through. Other than that, I like to walk the credit report, make sure everything is correct. There definitely can be errors on there. And see if anything needs to be updated, because sometimes the credit reports can be 30 to 60 days behind too.
Right. How long does this approval take?
Most times it can be 20 minutes. And some other times it may take longer, especially if you need more documentation.
For the DPA?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it could take just, like I said, less than a half an hour to kind of go through things thoroughly. Going through the bank statements, is there any unusual loan payment that might not be reported to the credit bureau, but is going to be found out later, and that's going to affect your loan. So to go through it thoroughly, I would say a good 30 minutes if all the documentation is there.
Okay.
We have to realize that when you find a home and you the lender supplies a pre-approval letter, you're putting your name on that. You're saying that you have reviewed the credit, you have reviewed assets, bank statements, meaning that are funds, and you're putting your name on there that that client is ready to go. Now, things can come up. People could lose a job, things like that. But you need to make sure that when you're doing that you're doing that to the best of your abilities. So I do like to take my time, ask the questions up front so that there's as little surprises or questions later on down the road.
Right. And speaking of surprises and questions, what are some tips that you wish buyers will know to get them to the closing table? Because I'm sure you've had stories of buyers during this process, they don't make it to the closing tables because of maybe when they went through underwriting or things like that. So what are some tips you wish buyers knew or they know moving forward through this process?
Tips. So, a lot of times, save what you can.
Yeah, don't make big purchases or things.
Yeah,
Sometimes I have to be reminded of those things.
Oh,
let's
for
maintain-
sure. Definitely
Yes.
purchases is huge. Try not to have the credit pulled. Make your payments on time to the best of your ability. And a lot of people don't know that if you make a payment late, I had a young lady that was just in tears because she had missed her Discover by, a week. And she thought, my loan's going to get denied. Well, it's not going to actually report to your credit bureau unless it gets to day 30. So when I say that, just try to make sure at least, that it's before that. But the more that you can pay your credit on time, avoid extra credit pulls. If your people are doing that, I ask them to reach out to me. It may not matter. Buying a new car on your application, it may not matter, but have that conversation to make sure that there is no problem with taking out that auto loan or buying a washer ahead of time. Even furniture, that's a big one. People will be a little more proactive. They'll go somewhere where they say, hey, 0% financing if you do this. But I would say hold off or at least talk to your lender. It may not be a big deal. That lender may say you are fine to do that, but you don't want to jeopardize a purchase with that when you could have just waited.
I would wait.
Another
Get
week.
the house first. Get the house. Then you can go ahead and furnish it and do whatever you want. Paint it, all those things. I know.
Yes.
Okay.
Other tips, but save. Sometimes I do ask borrowers to, I say, if you make 2 more car payments, we won't have to count that debt and you'll qualify for more if they want more, that is. And so they'll say, well, should I do that? And no. Put the money in the bank. Just make regular payments on time. There is some more where I do say that you need to be more aggressive in paying it down, but everybody's different. So that's another reason why to get the pre-approval, get with somebody on your side, get the guidance and the steps on how to move forward and make sure that it's the best process it can be.
Absolutely. Well, since you've been in this game for 30 plus years, do you want to share a success story with us?
Success story.
I know you have a lot of them.
I love my clients. I just, the worst thing that I hate is if after closing, then you don't hear from them again. I'm like, we have been so close sometimes it's only a month, and other times it can be a year or two.
I just started calling. I tried to pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
Because we're just in this world of texting and going on Facebook
Emails.
and stuff. But I've just this last month, I'm just calling just to say hi and nothing else, just to see how things are going.
I get tickled pink when they'll send me, the state, the taxes, not state, the county taxes. Mm-hmm. And they're like, it says this is not a bill. And
I've had that, yeah.
Most of the time, 99% of the time, the insurance or tax, not the insurance, both insurance and taxes are in your mortgage payment, but they'll send me a copy of it. Oh, another favorite one is the junk mail that they'll make look so official that says you need to do this or you can get a 2% rate.
Yeah, those scams.
And I tell them to take a picture of it, text it to me. But it tickles me pink that they reached out to me. I'm like, it's like the kid coming back home.
Those scams are real. Actually, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but a few years ago, a client that we share, she's already in her house, and then like a year later, someone comes to her door and they're like, your house is going to get foreclosed on. And it was the biggest scam, so I reached out to Title, and they were like, no, that's a scam. Aww. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because I forgot. I don't think I
No,
told you that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but she was just like, what's going on?
Poor lady.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you have to be, that's what you said too, we want to be advocates for you. If in doubt, or if it seems too good to be true, reach out to us. You know, what I do is in those examples, when they send that picture of that mail that says you can get a 2% rate, we can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it might be. I say, look at that fine print on the bottom.
Right.
They'll even actually pose as me or Movement Mortgage. Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is public knowledge, and it's really sad and scary.
So
but
no scams. But let's end with the success story.
Oh, the success story, yes. I have a couple that really stick to mind. Probably early in my mortgage career, I had a young lady. I was working for a bank at that time, and in the mortgage area. She comes in and she said, "I'd like to buy a house. You know, I live in this 1-bedroom apartment. I was serving overseas in the military, and while I was gone, my spouse let the home go to foreclosure and found somebody else." So she came back. Her husband had moved out. The house had been foreclosed on. She was sleeping on anybody's couch. I think they call it couch surfing. To live. Eventually, she got diagnosed with PTSD. She was able to get a 1-bedroom apartment, but her 3 children didn't want to stay with her because I said it was too small. There was not enough room. So she had told me about a foreclosure that happened while she was gone, which shouldn't have, because that's illegal when you're serving to get foreclosed on. And we really fought every day. We even had our own coffee drink where we mixed like cappuccino and coffee together, and she would come in and we'd talk forever. But we fought that foreclosure and ended up getting her apartment with her VA benefits. And I can't remember if we used the down payment assistance for the closing costs or if we got seller credits to pay those.
So she got another home.
She got her home, and she was so happy. But yeah, when she told me about the foreclosure, she just started bawling. And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You don't understand. I need a home for my children." Right. And I just knew right then that we had to fight. And she was diligent about it too. She did everything right. She listened to what I had to say. And we went to closing, and the $1,000 earnest money that she had put down on the contract to buy that house, she got back. And then she didn't have a first mortgage payment too. I think a lot of people forget about that. You know, if you are going to down payment assistance program and you're only putting $1,000 or $2,000 down, if you put that's required into the program, you can get money back sometimes. So
what
it's
a remarkable
amazing
story, and thanks for sharing that. And I have to give you your flowers. Yes, wow, that almost brought tears to my eyes. So, and how is she still doing good right now?
Yes, yeah, very well.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming out in the snow and to share your gems with us. And is there any final advice you'd like to share with the audience?
Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask questions and get the right information. If you don't get the right information, or you're not getting the results that you need, don't be afraid to go somewhere else. I actually bought my first house, and I know that there was assistance. Now being in the industry, I know that there was assistance available. My lender didn't offer it, so he just said, "Go continue to save. Try to get a gift from your family," which wasn't my family dynamics. Take money out of your 401k or retirement, but come back when you've got money. I waited another year, and I finally scrounging and did come up with the money to get that minimum down payment. Right. But there is these programs available. And if you're not hearing that from someone else, you need to ask more questions.
Yep, and that's why we're doing this podcast, to get the information out. And I also have a down payment assistance criteria tool online, and it's confidential. I don't see the information that you enter, so it's an online eligibility tool, and I will leave that link in the description. And once you take that, I'll just get an email. You'll get the down payment assistance programs that you're eligible for, but then I'll also get an email with your contact information and with the down payment assistance programs you're eligible for as well. But other than that, I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope that this information helped you or a loved one. And I just want to thank you for joining me on Keys with the House Lady. And If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or need a referral anywhere across the country or internationally, I've got you. Visit estrellacarter.com or call 651-338-4207. And I need to get back over to Tammy Wagner because you need to share your information as well.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Tammy Wagner. My email is Tammy, Tammy Wagner, Wagner @movement.com, or feel free to call or text me at 651-769-4063.
And again, Estrella Carter here, 651-338-4207. And just to repeat back, I will leave that down payment assistance criteria tool in the description. So talk to you next time and keep living your best life.